Here is an M3HB Flex Machinegun. Now you've all heard of an M2HB, which is called an M2 heavy barrel. As you can see, the heavy barrel profile right here. But this is actually an M3AC and aircraft gun, or aircraft gun, blended with an M2 heavy barrel gun. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the high rate of fire gun with the low rate of fire parts. On this particular gun, it's got an early style Colt barrel support, which is pretty rare. You won't see one on the marketplace. They were done early World War II, probably around the 1940s, probably around 41, 40. And they quit producing because they were too expensive to manufacture. They're built from solid billet steel. New ones are built out of casted. The gun's overall weight is about 86 pounds, 84 to 86 pounds. And in its current state has a rate of fire of about 550 to 650 rounds per minute. We're going to take and break this thing down so you know how to operate it from pretty much an elemental standard. I'm going to hand the camera over to my buddy. Okay, first thing you got to know about this gun is how to charge it. A lot of people don't know how to cock this gun. They always reach overhand and try to pull it, and they realize, man, this thing takes a lot of muscle. So you want to go underhand, grab onto the charging handle. You can brace it, since I don't have it mounted, brace your hand against the back plate here. Pull as fast as you can, let go. That's how you cock it. Now I don't have a headspace gauge for this right now, so I can't show you how to headspace it. It's very simple. It's usually a .202 to .205, I think, piece of metal. So it has a go and no go. And what you do is you slide it between the face of the bolt and the barrel extension, this little area right here. And what it does is, if you have the go gauge in, it should be able to slide all the way forward. If you have the no-go gauge in, it should lock up about in this general location or a little bit further back. So that tells you it's not ready to fire in the no-go position. But if it goes in with the go gauge and it's like this, then the headspace is off. Once the go gauge is in, it should be able to go down to here. And then with the no-go, it should lock back without being in the forward position. Okay, so let's break this gun down. First thing you're going to do is take the barrel out. What you're going to do is, there's a window right here where you want to locate the little tab. And what you're going to do is you're going to push back on the charging handle to get that to show. See the little tab right here. Once that's apparent, start turning the barrel counterclockwise or to the left. You'll hear the ratcheting sound. Telling you that the barrel's ratcheting its way out of the barrel extension. Once you hear the ratcheting stop, you can let go of the charging handle and remove the barrel the remaining distance. Okay, now that the barrel's out, we're going to open the top cover. And we're going to take what's called the back plate off. This is an M3AC back plate. It's got the heavy buffer on it. M2HB has a much smaller buffer, and this is designed for the higher rate of fire. So you're going to depress this little button. You're going to take and push this latch up. It's kind of a three-step motion, and then you're going to lift up. Okay, now that the back plate's off, we're going to take the recoil spring out. It's captive, so you push it to the left, comes out, and draw it out. Should be in one piece unless it's broken. Going to draw the bolt back with the charging handle. Slightly do it. You don't have to go crazy because there's no recoil spring on it. Draw it to about halfway of what's called the retracting slide group here. And you'll see a relief cut, and then you can draw out the bolt stud. Now that the bolt stud's out, push back on the extractor. Bring the whole bolt out, and then to remove what's called the barrel extension and the buffer assembly, there's a small hole right here that has a tension spring on it. What you're going to do is you're going to push on that tension spring, push on the inside of the barrel extension here, and you should be able to bring the unit out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to break down these to their core components. They're very simple. Each one for the barrel extension has a pin in it that retains, in this case, what's called the locking block. Locking block pin that retains it. Now you have what's called the buffer assembly. We're going to take the accelerator out by pushing the pin out. And now we're going to drop the buffer assembly out through the back. Now we're going to take the bolt back, or take the bolt out, and what you have to do is take the cocking switch, bring it all the way to the back. The bolt's actually cocked right now, so the firing pin has a tension against it. What we're going to do is we're going to relieve that tension by pushing down on the sear. Now you can take the bolt apart. What you have to do first is you have to depress this little spring right here, and then on the side of the bolt there is a little pin that completely holds most of the assembly together on the cocking switch. Cocking switch comes out. Now we can take, by using this switch, what's called the sear spring out. You draw it to the left. I'm going to lift right here on the front where it hooks over. Now we're going to take the sear and sear spring out. Sometimes the sear spring doesn't come up with the sear, so make sure you don't lose it. And now we can drop the bolt out, or the firing pin out. And we can take the extractor off, which you just lift and push out. Now this particular bolt is an M3AC bolt. As you can tell, it's got the lightning cuts, and this helps with the increased rate of fire by lightening the operating system. We're going to put the bolt back together. You're going to take the firing pin, you're going to draw it forward. You want to make sure that this little lip is facing down. And the reason for that is it's actually what hooks onto the sear. Make sure that the slot that lines up here for the cocking switch is pointed up and down, so that way you can install your cocking switch correctly. Drop the sear in with the spring, put the sear retaining spring in, push the sear retaining spring to the right, make sure it's fully recessed, drop the cocking switch in, take this, make sure that the half moon shape is facing up, press on this little depressor, make sure it's all the way through so that this little nub protrudes out this side. Cock it forward and then put the extractor on. Okay, now we're going to put the buffer assembly back together. And the buffer assembly, there's a little tab that sticks off the right here. You want to find that slot and draw it into that hole. Put the accelerator on. Make sure that the fingers are facing forward. Line the holes up, drop the pin through. Now the locking block on this gun is called an M3AC locking block. It's split in the middle. A regular M2HB locking block would have a solid surface. And the reason why this is designed this way is for aircraft use. Usually the gun's pointed down, and so the recoil of the gun was not enough to unlock the full locking block, so they'd split the block. It's critical to make sure that this is facing in the correct direction. This surface interferes with this surface, and it has a 5-degree angle, so you know which direction it goes in. If you put this in backwards, the gun will not go into full battery. So So make sure this is facing forward with the slant. Drop into this channel, line up the hole, drop the pin in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the buffer assembly and we're going to mate it to the barrel extension. You want to latch this and these little fingers into this groove and drop this back. Make sure that the fingers come back and touch the actual housing. And we're going to put this back into the gun. Now you want to make sure that the fingers on the buffer assembly or the accelerator are all the way back, otherwise the bolt will catch against it and won't go forward. I'm going to put the bolt in slowly so you don't catch anything. Drop the charging, or the, what do you call this? The cocking stud back into the bolt. Put it through in this slot here. Push the bolt forward. Now we're going to put the recoil spring back into the bolt, push it forward, and lock it into the side of the receiver. You're going to push this pin in and lift this latch and get this in the slots. And we're going to put the barrel back in. I'm going to turn it clockwise or to the right. Then you'll feel it come to a stop. When it gets to this point, we're going to charge this back and bring that pin into location where we can see it. Sometimes it takes a little finagling. And then we're going to bring the barrel to the face of the bolt or to the edge of the barrel extension. Which you can see there, it's almost flush. And that's kind of a reference point for where you want to start your head spacing from. Make sure that the cam up here is to the left. Usually it's spring loaded. It should always be spring loaded. And drop your top cover. Should be ready to cock. Check it. Everything's working back together. Pretty simple process. Another thing we can cover real basically is how to load this. You're gonna bring the top cover up. You're gonna drop your round, what some maybe call the chamber, but this is against a cartridge stop. You're gonna make sure that this extractor is all the way up, and you're gonna drop it over it, lock it in. Now drop your top cover, and you're ready to charge it, ready to rock and roll.